morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Okay, I've give a talk to many technical conference. They are the bunch who are very hard to please, actually. To tell you the truth, normally the crowd is very quiet. I don't know. I mean, maybe because I come from a business angle, they don't know what to ask me. But if you go to commercial conference, you see a lot of energy. I don't know, I mean, it's just me, but maybe I'm not that lucky. But today, I'm going to start talk to you about a bit about AI, and I hope that I can impart part of my experience to you. I'm not very popular in the industry yet, but just a bit of steam. I was, when I was actually in 1998, I was a bit lucky that I actually built my first patent for underwater communication, right? Then they used the technology that I built for space communication. That was in 1988. And then in 1999, I was a bit lucky that I built a technology to talk to web servers. Okay, in 1999, in US, the market is for food catalogs, okay, when you call, and the website. So because data resides in a website, I was tasked to actually, when someone pick up the call, build a technology to talk to a website. But that is in 1999, and that builds to the growth of what you call Apple Siri. Okay. That's just a bit of my experience in the research world. Got an offer to extend PhD at MIT, but my mom said, please come back, you know, you can build money everywhere. I actually come back. So that's mine. And then now I start a company called Nervesis. I'll tell you a bit about that, okay? All right. So one more thing, just related to academic, I also was a part of the team that designed AI program center for NQA. So one of the things that I mentioned from Datuk Sali just now, don't ask what you can build. Actually, that's a wrong mantra for a lot, even for software development house. Okay, build what people want. That's the right mantra. And I don't know, when I start a company, a lot of my staff that comes from the university, they are satisfied when they build something, which is very wrong. I think something needs to change. It's a very wrong culture, actually. I don't know why we don't start embedding to say, even our research, do research that people want. Why just do research? It's not the right mantra, actually, okay? So I just gonna go straight. Okay, I have a lot to tell, but I'm just going to read a bit condensed, okay? So let's start with AI. I've been with AI actually when we start that underwater communication. I was building this small transformer during that time, in 1999 for submarines. Long story short. Okay, so now, this is my own experience. I went to Bangkok, you know, you want to look for halal food, and of course, you tend to, you know, you think that LLM is just like this. You can just ask anything, isn't it? So, I did ask which halal place that I want to go. Okay? Of course, you get a lot of lists, right? And then you look at it, and then you decide to say, okay, please give me a comment. Use a comment on these places, and it gives a comment. This is funny, actually. We went there after, you know, in Bangkok, traffic is very bad, right? After half an hour, very hungry, we step out of the Grab. It's not a place that not even halal. It's a totally different place. Okay, so the thing is, they give us everything. It sounds very convincing. Nice liar, but then it doesn't help me. So this is a problem with AI, actually. Okay, you have a brain that you ask, can you trust that brain? Okay, I'm going to talk a bit more on this. Okay? So there's no error message, no flags, and it's very convincing the way they talk. This is a problem actually. Okay? Right. So this is my hypothesis, and I think this is true. Maybe you can do it as a research. I'm just going into the industry. I don't really go into... LLM is just a mirror of you. You give it to a kid, there's just a bunch of questions you can ask, isn't it? I mean, so it's just a poly version of you. There's a limited question you can ask, and the AI doesn't know what you don't know. It depends on your prompt. So you cannot be that smart actually. This is the thing that people don't realize. It's just a mirror of you. Okay, maybe a bit more, but you're not going to be super intelligent just by using AI. You cannot, because it's all coming from you. Okay? So I need people to know that, because this is something missing in the marketplace, where people picture, AI will go rogue and so on. But at the end of the day, it's just a mirror of you. Okay? So what question you can ask is coming from you actually. Okay? So, but the good thing about Mirror is, as a software company, I have to admit, I don't write codes anymore. My team don't write codes anymore. We use Cloud Code, all these tools. Bye-bye Hello World. Okay? If you're learning programming in university, I don't know whether it applies or not. We don't do coding anymore, although we are a software house. But, okay, this is a good thing about Mirror. When I hire an expert, let's say I pay 15,000 a month. By using that Cloud Code, I can get 4 times of that guy. Okay, so with investment using AI, okay, around 20,000 a month, I get 4 people equivalently. But if I hire a dummy using AI, it doesn't work, isn't it? So this is a good effect about Mirror, where if I hire the experts, I can replicate the guy easily. Okay? But as I told you, in education, you still have to understand Hello World, because you need to be an expert. Then use AI to mirror you. So this is what's happening in the industry here. Okay? So I tell you a bit about in US. I know a few of my friends. A lot of undergrads don't get jobs. Why? Because LM starts to, because you can use the experts to replicate the experts, isn't it? So the junior guy doesn't get a job. So the junior guy need to elevate themselves. But in order to elevate themselves, they need experience. I don't know how the industry or university is going to solve that, but this is really happening actually. Okay, what happens? Let's say for marketing job, copywriting, when LLM comes in, it replaces a lot of marketers' job to do content, to do a lot of things, and so on. So, but there is another story about that. I'll come back to it. Okay, so. One thing, you are talking about the host, replicating the host. But what happens if AI decides for itself what's meaningful? We haven't got there. Okay, this just happens when I think last week, when OpenAI agents hack Hugging Face by itself. Okay, that means AI starts to have meanings. What is meaning actually? We'll get into that later, but this is happening already. Okay? Actually, it's a bit of a threat for the host. We are the host. Because we can get as much as ourselves. It's a mirror of ourselves. But if AI decides what's meaningful for itself, then there can be a funny story behind it. Okay? Alright. So, you talk about automation all this while, especially in engineering. We automate motions, we automate this, and so on. Okay, but what happens with AI? We don't actually upgrade the automation. We just change the scope. We just automate the meanings. We automate the judgment. Right? Just like in my case, I just automate the judgment of finding halal. I don't even question it. When I get there, I get it. Okay? Now imagine the first thing about automation judgment is actually self-driving car. Okay, that's actually the first big engineering job. Because when you're driving, you got to do a lot of judgment. And you give it to a car to decide by itself. We're talking to that later. Okay? So, we talk about it fails actually, but I don't know that it fails. This is the danger part of it. Okay? There was an incident that happens to our country when in a big national event, in fact international event, we actually put a wrong name of a prime minister of a country. And what happens, the copywriter, this is the rumors, is using ChatGPT to write the content. Okay? This is a problem. And when you do literature review, how do you know it's correct or not with ChatGPT? Okay? I mean, there is a way to guardrails it, but this is one of the things that we need to think about. Okay? The other thing, it does not know how to remember. Okay? When a car, when you actually, it doesn't know, meet someone, okay, that experience sticks in you. And then later you meet it again, it's like a context. Okay? AI doesn't remember actually right now, but we go into that. Okay? And it doesn't own the mistake. Okay? This is an issue in Europe. Right? They talk about, for example, rules for a self-driving car. If there is an accident, who you should blame? The owner of the car? The developer, the manufacturer of a car? Who should you blame? How you solve this problem actually? Okay? In the assembly line, when you use AI a lot, the AI makes mistake. Are you going to blame the supervisor? Who are you going to blame? This is part of one of the big issues in AI where who's actually really responsible? Okay? In the case of, there was something happening in US, there is this company built like, they have this kind of virtual boyfriend thing in the US, boyfriend-girlfriend thing. I don't know what's the app called. There's a teenager that killed herself because her AI boyfriend tell her to do so. And what happens? The mother tried to sue the company, and they said, no, I don't build the technology because it was built by another LLM provider. So who's going to be blamed? This is the thing about AI. This is something we need to think about actually when we adopt more AI. Okay? So one of the things we should think about is the mirror. We shouldn't make it smarter. We should build a nice ecosystem around it. That's the right thinking about it. Okay? So I'm going to go a bit into the how we do it. Okay? Okay, this is actually just a big promotion to the company I built. We are building what we call a guided thinking orchestration. Okay? So this is an example, okay, how we build, let's say, reports, let's say 100 pages. So we have all these articles, let's say leadership transcript, maybe about hundreds of them. We have ground intelligence doing the survey, maybe around 50 of them, right? So you can do it manually, but we actually use AI to orchestrate that thinking. Okay? And you can look, if you look at the right, the team clustering, you can see how we direct AI on the thought process. This is what we're doing actually. Okay, so we are doing it for actually police, analyzing police reports. We are analyzing market. Maybe one day we go to the university and help the students to write a paper or PhD thesis and whatnot. But we haven't got there actually because for commercial reasons, I mean the profit probably is something we need to think about. Like Dato' Salih said, social business if you want to go to universities. But we don't expect that lah. Okay? So we built also a memory for what needs to be remembered when the thinking is running. Okay? So our vision is we build this thinking orchestration. Later we put that in a car, we'll put that in the machines so that the machine can start thinking. Okay? Alright, so one thing that we realize, there's this thing called knowledge work automation. Okay? So designing a report is a knowledge work automation. Solving a financial problem is a knowledge work automation. In fact, finding the right business later is a knowledge work automation. Right? You can actually embed the whole, orchestrate the whole thinking in AI already. Okay? And the best part of it, one of the issues we face in the market, we go to companies, the experts are leaving. When the experts are leaving, it brings the knowledge with them. So, we can actually transfer the expertise to AI already. Okay? For example, how you design a budget for the faculty. There's a thinking, isn't it? How the dean administer the universities. You can have that thought process put in. So later, there's a new dean that comes in, he can ask the AI, hey, I have this problem. The previous dean, how did you do it? So you can have that actually. You can start transferring thought process and knowledge into AI already. So this is happening quite rapid. So that's why what happens, this is happening already. I don't know if you know the company called Figma. Figma is a software, US design house. Okay. So what happens when Figma is using Anthropic? So after a while, Anthropic figure out what's the thinking process behind design. So Claude come out, Anthropic come out with another set of product that competes with that. So this is the thing that you need to know, is that thinking process that you need to build. Okay. One thing when you actually deploy AI in a quite hostile environment, you have to start with phases. Okay, not the whole thing. And you have to start with the lowest risk part of it. Okay, you'll see later a lot of my talk, my slides connected to military. I think you know where I have talked before, but this is a thing when you actually do that. In military, I think military is a good example to deploy this. You cannot just go and deploy AI. You have to compartmentalize the risk and start with the lowest risk. Okay? So, same in the factory, same in the engineering setup, you're building bridge and so on. If you want to start AI, you have to compartmentalize the risk and start from there. And I think the latest risk is when it involves human. That's the last part you want to do. So for example, like logistic. Okay, let's say you build a bridge, there's a part of logistic, isn't it? So logistic doesn't involve human, you can start from there. Okay, so that's one of the idea that we talk about. Okay, the other things, all the things are actually multi-domain. Okay, I mean in military, you're talking about land, sea, air, cyber, and space. Okay, so you got to think that way. I mean, that's the sad part about. I think sometimes when you talk about faculty, the silos are already there. Okay, when you want to work across faculties, you have this problem. So AI is not about that. Okay, it needs to be multi-domain. Okay? What happens, okay, this is actually quite applied to geopolitical situation. Let's say our country depends so much on ChatGPT and LLM. Okay? And happens one of big company in Malaysia, okay, there was a time because that company has a problem and an issue with US, they cannot renew their Microsoft license. Although they want to pay triple or quadruple. It happens already actually in our country. Okay? So they shut it off. So it happens to us. Okay, we depend so much on ChatGPT and one day they shut off, what happens to us? So we got to think the design about sovereignty. So in the engineering part of it, when you use AI, you got to think about sovereignty. I mean, I can go really deep into this, but I'm just giving you a guideline on security and sovereignty. Okay? So it has happened to our country, to a big company, because that company has an issue with US. Okay? So you've seen before, you heard the story that we cannot afford to buy a missile from Norway just because we have some issue with US. So, you know, we are in that situation already. So research should be able to focus towards that, for that independence. Okay? The other thing is, you got to start thinking about human in the loop. Means for every flow, there is an exit door. Okay? I think last time you remember, for EV car like BYD, when you got into accident, the battery shut down, someone cannot pull out cannot break the door or window. Okay? So you got to think of this for every flow that involves with AI. You got to be able to have an exit door for human to intervene. And in a case like open AI agent hacking Hugging Face, that's where you need an exit door. If this thing goes wrong, right? Okay, so you need some kind of that risk mitigation that actually embed in your thinking. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, I'm looking this a bit more from the industry part, but I think it can also affect the researchers. Whenever they do research, there are multi-parts they need to think about. Again, do research that people want. Don't do research. Okay, I think it's a wrong mantra. Yeah, I am also pushing in MQA to teach product development, not software development. It's a wrong way to teach. Because, you know, you are paid by how much you can contribute back to the company, not because you can finish your job. Okay? We can just cross borders. One other thing is, everything is centralized and monitored. Okay? So you can actually, if you do a big engineering house, there is a monitoring service that you got to look. For example, monitoring the power grid, monitoring the bridges and so on. So AI is there to help you. Okay. So for example, last time there was this the researcher that I helped. They say, I want to monitor a downtime for few things in the ship, but it was an old technology, right? So I cannot put IoT there. Is it in the ship? So I suggest to the guy, look, why don't you put a camera 24/7 at the dashboard? They have the meter and so on. Just put it there, right? So if, based on using AI, if anything goes wrong, you feed back to the back end. So there is many ways that you can actually do this, and this is something that you can think about. Okay. The other thing is, when you design using AI, you have to be resilient. Okay, you cannot just researchers normally build prototypes, but you got to also think. Another research is resilience. Okay? It's not about building new things all the time. You can take the same thing and make it more resilient. There's another research by itself. Okay? So, using AI, I mean, you got to think how you make a product or you make your research more resilient to spoofing, cyber attacks, and so on. Okay. Another thing is you can think about what AI is simulation. Last time simulation cost a lot. I think in the telco research, you do a lot of simulations, and okay. I just put it there, one example. This is live testing. Okay? This is a problem with military. When they buy something, they have to test it. So how do they test it? They create a war. Okay? So Iran drones is a test ground for them to test the drones. So when you build something, you got to have a real situation that you want to go into. Okay. Alright, I just finish on time. Okay. The other thing is, for AI to be successful, you have to pair it with human. You have to train them with human. Part of it. It cannot be an isolated systems. Okay. So then you have to we got to restructure the job scope and so on. It cannot just stand by its own. Okay? So, what we need to think about, we cannot run away from AI. Okay? But there are a few things you got to remember, that how you actually take all this discipline and put it in our way of life. Number two, which does not happen yet, what happens if AI goes rogue? And it starts seeing all these symptoms, and okay. So I just finished on time. I hope that I give you some information that you need to know, and I think thank you. If you have any question, I'll be down here to respond. Yeah.